to another exciting edition of Books and Financial Review. This is the place where we go looking for all the quality reads for your personal development. Today we are at it again, bringing to you a very quality and insightful book for our personal development. Guess what? Today we are coming with self-discipline, misunderstood miraculous virtue. This book is authored by Miss Esther Opoku Dankwa. Guess what? Growing up, when we hear that someone is self-disciplined or the word discipline, a lot of things run into our mind, especially if he's a teacher. We perceive that that person is so strict or that person is so difficult. But let's guess and see what is in this book for us today. And we are privileged to have the author of this great book with us to tell us what she has in this book. Welcome, Esther.
Thank you.
Thank you for making time with us again. Okay, so on this note, remember that this program is brought to you by Back Publications, Famous Accounting Services, Borders Books Cafe, and Engine Communications. On this note, we'll be taking some short messages. We'll be right back to continue the show. Welcome back. If you just joined us, this is your favorite and number one book show. This is the only place where awesome writers meet awesome readers. This is where we go looking for all the quality reads for your personal development. And today we are not far from that. Today we have a great read here to review Self-Discipline and Misunderstood Miraculous Virtue. This book is authored by Madam Esther Opoku Dankwa, who is a secondary school tutor, and today we are graced to have her in the house to discuss this book. And as you're sitting by your TV, call a friend, let a friend also call a friend, let's join in the discussion. And so welcome, Madam Esther.
Thank you.
Okay, Esther, self-discipline. What motivated you to come up with this book?
Thank you very much for your question. So my students are the actual reason for this book. As a senior high school teacher, I deal with teenagers. And aside that, I also am in a youth fellowship, which also deals with teenagers. With my students, I realized that they have what it takes to excel academically, but then the willpower to do what it takes is lacking. Because discipline in itself is the ability to be able to do what you need to do regardless of how you are feeling at a point in time. And that is what my students are lacking. So it inspired me to write this book and explain what discipline really is and what they think it is but is not. Okay. So that it will be much easier for them to develop it and then come out well academically and every other aspect of their life.
Okay, so what do you want this book, what purpose do you want it to serve?
I would love this book to, change the mindset of its readers.
Okay.
And for them to get to a point in their lives where they realize that they have everything it takes to achieve every dream of theirs, even though there might be hurdles along the line. For that, I will not lie to my students.
Okay.
So because of that, I even added life experiences within the book. That they will be reading the book, they will realize, okay, somebody has also gone through some of these practical experiences in life. So whatever I'm also going through, it is not because maybe God doesn't love me or I'm unfortunate. It is just about life. So what are the strategies I could also use to overcome and achieve my dreams?
Okay. Okay, so could there be myth or some misconceptions regarding self-discipline? What people are not, because you wrote it here, a misunderstood miraculous virtue. Maybe people are taking it in such a way that they don't understand. So, is there a myth to it?
Yes, please.
Okay.
There are myths to
Okay.
self-discipline.
Okay.
Few of them are, most people think self-discipline is inherent. Is either you are born with it or you don't have it at all. Some also think self-discipline is boring. And this is not it. Discipline is not inherent. We are not born with it. It is something that is an everyday affair. So it's something that we build upon. So you might be a very disciplined person, but along the line, you might lose track of yourself and then lose control over discipline. But because you are consciously a disciplined person, you would realize it and then come back to doing what you need to do. Remember, I earlier on said discipline is about being able to do what you need to do, regardless of how you are feeling at a point in time. So, at a point in time, I may do what I'm really not supposed to do, so I'll be in tune with my feeling. But when I become conscious of that, then decide to now do what I need to do, regardless of how I am feeling, then it means that I'm exercising discipline at that point.
Okay, so we'll be going for a break shortly. Before we go for the break, so if it's not something born with, as you said, it's a myth, then where does it start from?
First and foremost, actually, it starts from home, because every child's first point of learning is with his family, that is parents or guardian. But there's another question. Is it everybody who will be fortunate enough to come from a family where he or she will get the chance to have discipline instilled in him or her? So if someone is not fortunate enough to have the right kind of the right kind of behavior and mindset that will help that child growing up build self-discipline, then the person will have to build self-discipline using other means. So some of the other means will be the kind of people that he or she associates himself or herself with, that is friends. Okay, and then the kind of materials that he or she reads, because the books contain a lot of information, and the kind of books you read could help you to re-socialize yourself regardless of the environment you're coming from. So one, if I'm not fortunate to be in a family, that makes it easier for me to build up self-discipline. Then some other channels I could use is the people I associate myself with, and then the kind of materials I read.
Okay, okay. On this note, we'll be taking some short messages. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is your favorite and number one book show, Books and Financial Review. Today we are at it again. Today we have for you Self-Discipline, a Misunderstood Miraculous Virtue, authored by Madame Esther Upoku Damkwa. And today we are privileged and graced that she is with us in the house. This is such a book that we all need to have in our shelves. Okay, so we, since time will not allow us to go through everything in here, I'd like to mention some of the chapters to you. She mentioned in chapter 1 myth of self-discipline. Some of the things, the misconceptions that we take self-discipline to be. Chapter 2, she talks about 9 principles to build self-discipline. Chapter 3, practical life example, her own practical life, and some quotes to self-discipline. And as I mentioned, if you have kids in the house, teenagers in the house, this is a book that you need to have in your shelf. As may probably you may not have all the time to teach them, this book will go a long way to help them. So we are back to Madam Esther. Okay, so what do you think will be some of the benefits that one can derive from being self-disciplined? I mean, if we know this, then we will want to build our self-discipline.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
So there are 2 key benefits to being disciplined. And the first one is when you have self-discipline, it helps you to be able to achieve almost all your dreams.
Okay.
It helps you to achieve almost all your dreams. Then the other one is self-discipline helps us to live with little or no regrets. When you are disciplined, you get to a point in your life or in your old age, you look back at, even if you have regrets, some regrets in life, they'll be very minimal, and that gives you peace of mind. So it's a very important thing, and our whole life is centered on our achievements, our goals, and our dreams, then our peace of mind,
Okay.
which self-discipline helps us to attain.
Okay. Okay. That's great. Okay. So let's look at this era was self-discipline. Do you think our current era we are doing well with self-discipline?
If that's the question, honestly, no.
I ask this question because you are a secondary school tutor. So, probably we can use your school as a case study or your interaction with the youth as a case study. You think we are doing well with self discipline?
My dear, we are not. We are not. And I believe the fundamental problem has to do with the fact that most parents, I see most parents within two categories of people.
Okay.
The first group is parents who are doing everything possible to prepare life for their children instead of preparing their children for life. And
Take
unfortunately,
it again.
most parents are trying to prepare life for their children
Okay.
instead of preparing their children for life.
Okay.
And by doing that, we're already heading towards disaster because we can't control life. We actually don't know what will happen within the next minute or blink of an eye.
Okay.
And in the name of love, we are trying to do this. And as we do this, it weakens the hearts of our children. Our children are not able to build the willpower to be able to face everyday life challenges. They're not able to build self-esteem. They're not able to find ways and means to see their worth, even when situation is saying otherwise. Whoever has the strength to push against life, when life pushes against him or her, life will give the person what he or she wants. Okay. Then the second category of parents are the parents that feel, I've given birth to you. You have to try to survive on your own. So, like, whether, no matter what the child goes through, the parent doesn't really care. Because the parent, and you can't blame some of these parents. It's like everything we go through in life is what we pass on. So, for this group of parents, you realize that looking at their own childhood, they were just left, like, excuse me to say, maybe free range to just live life, nobody to mentor them, nobody to teach them about life. So they think that it's okay for you to also do that. It is very few of them who re-socialize and tell themselves that, yes, I didn't have anybody to mentor me, but then I'm going to be there for my child so that my child does not go through what I went through. So this is what has happened. But I believe it is not about what has happened. I believe it's about sitting down, looking at events of your life, coming to the reality of who you are and what you want out of life, and making the decision to impact positively in the life of your child or any young person around you.
Okay.
And if you'll be able to sit down and do that, regardless of what we've gone through in the past, it could always have a positive impact in the life of our children.
Okay. So looking at back how you were brought up, and I'm still with the era of, if this era is doing well with self discipline. Looking at how you were brought up, that now you've been able to complete your education, you are serving with it. How you were brought up in this era, with your experience as a teacher for teenagers, what are there any disparities?
Thank you. There are disparities, but in as much as how I was brought up has contributed positively to the kind of woman I have become, it had its own negatives, which I had to go through a lot of, self-motivation and development of willpower to come out of it. My training really helped me to be a very organized person and lady. But then I also grew up in an environment where it was seen as the one who listens to everybody around him or her is the one who is respectful.
Okay.
So being made to believe that listening to everybody around you, especially adults and mentor figures, is what depicts the image of being a respectful and humble lady, it didn't always go well with me. So I am not saying that young people should should not listen to adults when they are advising them. That's what I'm saying. But what I have come to realize is that it is important to listen to other people's view, get advice when you want to do anything as a young person. But in the end, be the sole owner of the decision. Or if you want to embark on anything, it is perfectly okay to seek advice and direction from adults and mentors. But in the end, every young person must make sure that she is the sole owner or bearer of the decisions that he or she makes. Because we are different individuals, and people might give you advice out of goodwill. But in actual fact, looking at who you are and what you want out of life at that particular point in time, that advice might not be good for you. So I would want everybody listening, whether a young person or an adult, seek information, seek advice, seek guidance, but make sure you are the one that makes the final decision on everything that you do.
Okay. I think that's so great. That is very insightful. And so you have here in one of your quotes here, you said self-discipline begins with the mastery of thoughts. If you don't control what you think, you can't control what you do. Simply, self discipline enables you to think first and act forward. That is by Napoleon Hill. Okay, I think that is great. On this note, remember that this program is brought to you by Back Press, Borders Books, Fembus Accounting Services, and Engines Communication. If you want your child to join Africa Must Read Book Club, call 0248859 If you are also an adult who wants to improve on your reading skills, you can also call the same number. This is a great read. I'll plead with people who can afford to buy bulk quantities that we can send to schools. It could be your old school that we can send to them, that it will help them to build on their self-discipline. There's so much information in here that will impact our younger ones' lives so positively. On this note, we'll take some short commercial break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is the place where awesome writers meet awesome readers. Today we are at it again with self-discipline, a misunderstood miraculous virtue, authored by Madame Esther Opoku Dankwa. And I would like to start with this session with this quote of Brian Tracy. He said, "Your ability to discipline yourself, to set clear goals, and then to work towards them every day will do more to guarantee your success than any other single factor." That's by Brian Tracy. That's so great. So coming back to you, Esther, is it so difficult to be self-disciplined?
Thank you for the question. I wouldn't say it's difficult, but then it could be challenging because it's something that you need to work on every day. And every day comes with its own struggles. Even the Bible says that enough is the troubles of each day. So do not worry about tomorrow. So with that regard, then it means that there will be some challenges, but it's not an impossible thing. Then for it to be much easier to instill or build self-discipline, one must first know him or herself.
Okay.
It's very important to know who you really are so that you do not walk in the shoes or shadows of other people, who you are as an individual. Then after knowing who you are as an individual, it is also important to have clear-cut goals for your life. And then finally, motivational structures. Talking about knowing who you are, when you know who you are, you're not really bothered about what people say, especially people who don't really know where you are heading towards to in life. Then if you have clear-cut goals, it means that along the line, yes, it's natural for us to go off our path. It's perfectly natural. But But because you have clear-cut goals in life, when you go off your path, you'll be able to bounce back to the very path that you were on in order to be able to achieve your dream in life. If you don't have clear-cut goals, then it's just about waking up, going to work, coming back, sleeping, and then a year passes by, you are aging, then it's time, and then you die off, which shouldn't be the case. Then finally, the motivational structures. In as much as you want to build self-discipline, if you don't have motivational structures, along the line you'll get weary. Life can really be complex at times. Life can really make us lose heart at so many. So it is these motivational structures that will keep you going, that will give you the positive energy to still move on. And these all synergistically work to make it seem like you have self-discipline.
Okay.
Some of the motivational structures are, it could be friends. Friends that have you at heart, friends that are willing to be honest with you at any point in time, even if it hurts. Then it could also be what self-talk, positive self-talk, waking up in the morning and commanding positive things into your day, telling yourself you can do this, you are great, I am intelligent, I am bold. Then it could also be posters or hangings within your house or your workplace that you are likely to see. It should be at locations that you will see almost every time, so that you draw positive energy from these things. So with these three things, knowing who you are, having clear-cut goals, and then having motivational structures in place can really take you very far.
Okay, can we also add consistency to all of this?
Yes, consistency is very important. In actual fact, it's not everything that I could have said, but if I have clear-cut goals, I'll find myself being consistent. Because I have clear-cut goals. This is what I want to do, and this is the reason why I want to do this. So even when I go off the path due to one thing or the other, I will find myself coming back to that path. So it means I'm being consistent. It doesn't matter how many times I go off. That one is nature. We don't have to worry about that. What we have to worry about is being able to always find ourselves back on track to be able to achieve our dream.
Okay.
So consistency plays a role there.
Okay. So on a daily basis, what are some principles that we can infuse into our life that will make us that we can say we are being self-disciplined?
Knowing who you are is very critical.
Okay.
Honestly, so many people are out there. People probably want to be like them, admire them, but some of these people don't really know who they are. If you don't know who you are, any sort of wind can blow you off. So on a daily basis, every blessed day that God gives us, we need to know who we are. We need to remember, after knowing who you are, you need to always remember that this is who I am. And you always need to remember your goals, especially the short-term ones, because the short-term ones will gradually lead to you fulfilling what the long-term ones.
I think that's such a great one. Okay, so wrapping up, I want to mention some 9 principles that you outlined here in the book for our viewers. She mentioned the first principle is define your goals. I think you mentioned that. Believe self-discipline is possible, so it's not too hard to be self-disciplined. And focus on one small step at a time and build a gradual plan over time. Manage your inner critic, create support structures to help you stay on track, make friends higher than you. I think that is the last one. I think this is such a great book, Esther. Thank you so much for coming up with this. God bless you. I pray that this book goes a wide coverage, that a lot of students will be able to have copies to read. And so if you are watching us, then we are pleading with you that if you can help us buy print large quantities that we can send to most of our secondary schools, that will be able to help our younger ones be self-disciplined. I believe if we are able to build self-discipline in them, then they can grow up to become responsible citizens, responsible mothers, fathers that we expect of them. Thank you for making time with us. I believe we've had such a great time. I have been educated, and I believe you have been as well. Thank you so much. If you want to join Africa Must Read Book Club, call 024-8859-319. Call the same number if you also want to improve on your reading skills. We are there to help you. Literacy, computing, and grammar. Remember, this program is brought to you by Back Publications, Fembes Accounting Services, Borders Books, and Engine Communications. Thank you so much for making time with us. Thank you, Esther, for making time with us and for coming up with such a great book. God bless you so much.
God bless you too.
Okay, so make time with us same time next week. All the special thanks goes to my producer and the production team. Thank you so much for making time with us. Make time with us same time next week. Call me Veronica Osua Obe. Make time with us same time next week. Keep reading and stay blessed.